before we do, I just wanted to share with you guys one of our sponsors products that just came out, and it's called the Weed Whacker by Manscaped, and it's this really handy dandy, super simple.
Ooh.
And all you do is put it up. It's not quite like getting a COVID test. You don't have to go that far up there, but it gets rid of those unsightly nose hairs. And so, Cody, I know when you're going on dates and all, at some point you sit at a table and you remove your mask. Child, we don't need to be seeing those spiders coming out of your nose. So with the weed,
arachnophobia, yeah, that's what they're getting when they look at my nose.
and if you've ever been like me, where you try to yank out some of these things and you're tearing, your tear ducts are like and it's just too much. This has a light; it just goes on like that, and it cuts all those. Before you go out, you just quickly do that, and you are good to go. It's called the Weed Whacker by Manscaped. And by watching us and listening to us, you get 20% off by just listening to us and watching us. Go to manscaped.com. Anything on the Manscaped site, you get 20% off. Just use our code at checkout, TAGS, 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 and free shipping. So that's a little thing the next time you go on your date, and check your mail, Cody. Anyways, moving on. Cody has one in the mail coming to him so that he can,
it should be,
as a co-host.
I'm praying, okay.
Well, let's move on to some hot gay sex topics. And one came to mind immediately. And I watch a lot of CNN, and one of the pundits on there is Jeffrey Toobin. And you probably all heard about this. I loved Jeffrey Toobin. He has a brand new book out. He's an expert in the law, and he has a sardonic sense of humor when he's educating us, I feel. And he's been one of my favorite pundits to watch whenever I turn on the news. And I was killing myself yesterday when it's not quite a Me Too movement moment where you're like, not another one. But it was close in that, if you didn't already hear it, he was recently doing on a Zoom call with colleagues and thought the camera was off. And he was in the middle of doing a bunch of these different Zoom calls and was caught masturbating, jerking off, y'all. And he also is a head writer at The New Yorker, the prestigious, iconic New Yorker. And I don't think they fired him, but they put him on a leave of absence for that. Yeah. CNN, he actually took a leave of absence from that. He's on suspension, actually. Thank you. Yes. From The New Yorker. He's on a leave of absence by his own will from CNN. Yes. And do you recover from something like this, Cody? Because I will tell you a little tidbit before you answer that.
Okay.
Because we got a lot to talk. There's a reporter from Britain called Richard Quest. He's a travel reporter. And years ago, he was caught. He was an international reporter and came to New York City and was found in Central Park with a adult toy and meth, and got caught, told the police that somebody saw him, because I think he was also naked too, high off his mind. And somehow, that was like 2008. In the last several years, he's back on CNN International and somehow seemingly recovered. Of course, he's British. My friend said in LA, and sometimes we forgive the Brits a little bit more than we do Americans. But what were your first thoughts when you heard that?
So I read the article, and I think he's mortified, honestly. And it was a mistake.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a big mistake or a little mistake, but it was a mistake.
I know. Yeah.
He thought that he wasn't on camera, so he just got caught with his pants down.
Literally.
What they do on Zoom is they have this option where they can like put you into different rooms, and I guess he thought that it cut off his his
What was he in the
camera.
porn room or something that he thought? Oh, okay, I'm okay over here in the porn room. I can
Hey,
apparently in this room we can
even
do
in the
whatever we
champagne
can
room.
drink. I can. Yeah,
Oh my
no.
goodness! So I think he thought that from what I understand, is he
I think
thought
he
that the
didn't
camera.
think. He didn't think is the
Yes.
key.
Oh, okay. Perhaps. But what were you gonna say?
Go ahead. No, finish your thought.
Oh, okay. So he thought his camera was off, and so he got on another call with somebody else. From what I understand,
Okay.
and it was like it was a phone sex call.
Oh,
So
really? Oh, but
yes.
see, that is just interweaving. I know we are in this new era of working from home, but this is somebody. So, just to give you guys an example, we are here on the Get Vocal platform talking about sex. We have a show called Talk About Gay Sex. We
Mhm.
can, on this platform, as was stated, which we wouldn't do anyway,
Mm,
show any genitalia, obviously. I'm not even sure at times because it gets pushed out to Facebook if we can, like on the regular podcast, I can use the F
yeah.
word. We can say whatever we want on the regular show because on the podcast platform, it's all good. When this gets pushed out to Facebook, we can't even say stuff like that. And we're a liberal podcast talking about gay sex. We can't obviously even show that, or we would get shut down from the Get Vocal platform.
Yes.
Understandably, kind of sucks because Cody, I know, wanted to show you a little bit of a show when we first started
That's a
the
whole
show.
nother site.
But when
Honestly,
you are a CNN New Yorker, he has a #1 best-selling book out about Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Your platform is way up here, and you are in the middle of with colleagues doing Zoom calls for work and all this kind of stuff, and you fuck up and oops, sorry, and literally are masturbating shows to me
Yeah.
that, and I love him, and I say this with love because I really, really love his opinion, and he's one of my favorite people. So I say it with love. Let's read a couple of comments that people are saying. Jen says, I think he will recover if something all men do. If all men do.
True. It's something everyone does, or if that they
Yeah,
should
and
do.
that's not the problem. Yeah, absolutely. It is. But not, now we all know. It's one thing that it's embarrassing. It should have never been seen by any of his colleagues. And as a result, they sent it to management. The word got out, and now the world knows about it. So the
Yeah.
recovery to me really comes down to, can he come back? And we all take him and his words seriously when we're all going to be like, we know what you
I
did.
I think that he can come back because from what I understand, and this is coming from somebody that was actually on the call, when he got back on like the main call after doing what he was doing, he acted like nothing had happened, like he didn't even know what was happening. So I think that they're going to take into account that it was an accident. He's in his home basically, even though he broadcast this to so many different people. What are you going to say?
Well, it is. I think it's definitely an accident. There's no questioning. We all do that, but you can be careless, I think, and it is against the law. Like, let's just say, because somebody was
Mhm.
talking about it on a different show, where if let's just say he was in his office at the New Yorker or CNN, and somebody opened the door and caught him masturbating, he
Yes.
would be fired immediately because he's at work. So this is somewhat unprecedented, how everyone uses that word now, because technically everybody is currently working from home.
Yes.
He was in the midst working essentially on a slight break, but colleagues were viewing him. So was he in the official CNN building? No. Was he working where colleagues did catch him in the act? Yes.
Yes.
It's one of those new forms of dicey things. And that brings up
And a gray
Cody.
area.
where you found yourself in a similar situation.
I was just about to bring that up. So I have been on a Zoom call, and
he was telling me offline, and I was like, "Oh wow, okay."
Yeah, I've been on a Zoom call, and
with friends,
no. It was a work meeting.
Here we go.
So it was all of my like coaching colleagues. We did this Zoom call, and of course I'm on my personal private computer, and some things are playing in the background. It was porn. Yes, it was porn, and of a sudden, all I hear is the moaning come through the speakers on my computer, and I just quickly typed to my friend, "Oh my God, did you just hear that?" And they're like, "Hear what?" So I mean, I got away with it, but I have been in the position. I understand how mortified you can be by actually.
That would make me. Yeah,
you
were lucky though.
Yeah,
you were lucky though that it wasn't. Wasn't there a story recently of a family in this COVID quarantine? A whole family, like they all were going to watch something on the TV, and a man went to the TV to play something for everybody, and he pressed play on his, and it was porn, and there was like, he could not stop it fast enough to get it off. I mean, that's
probably happened to me too.
Yeah, and everybody was giggling and laughing, but it was his family, and so yours was nobody heard it really but you. My little story, my little innocent story was sometimes I do watch porn if I'm too lazy to get to my laptop, so I might watch something on the phone in bed in the morning or whatever. And I was standing in line at the grocery store the other day, waiting in line, and there was a bunch of us standing in there. And I had my phone, not like disclosed, but kind of open. And I open up to get the Whole Foods app because you can use the barcode to check. And I'm open it up, and the last porn thing that I watched popped up, and I know, and I was like, no, like, go away, like, and don't press play, because I think I had sound on or something.
I was going to say, was there sound?
I would have threw it, like, and blamed somebody, and said, whose phone is this? I would have just been, I guess I'm getting a new phone. And then of course somebody would have looked at, bitch, you are on this phone, it's yours.
Where are all these pictures of you in this phone?
But these examples that we just shared fail in comparison to the Jeffrey Toobin story of his level and what he was doing. And so yours was porn that actually nobody heard. The guy in the other story that we were talking about happened to press play, and it was porn. It wasn't his porn. Mine, which just happened to be on my phone, nobody really saw it. If somebody saw, we had a little incident when we started the Get Vocal platform early on that when we finished the show, even not like that, not like
am
that.
I exposed?
Not like that at all. But we learned on this Get Vocal platform that when we hit stop broadcast, that if anybody is still on our Get Vocal site on this thing, that even though we said stop broadcast because we record it, because then it goes into our feed later, that people can still see us on the camera. And we were not like doing anything, but I think Cody and I were just wrapping up and saying, hey girl, so what are you going to do now? And blah, blah, blah. How was the show? And like, whatever. After show chat. And somebody was like, oh, I can still see you guys.
It was Teddy.
But it was not like that big of a deal. And it was just, we knew. So now we're always like, okay, goodbye, everybody. And then, okay, Cody, we'll talk.
I take my pants off.
We're so like robotic, like when we like finish it until we like literally, until I see that green light go. But I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to come back from jacking off. Let's just say if your mom, would you be mortified if your family and everybody knew that you got caught jacking off on a main, like, and CNN everybody was writing about it, would you just want to crawl underneath a rock?
I would be mortified, but if Pee Wee Herman can come back, anybody can come back. Right?
True. Yeah, good point. And he's got that guy, Jeffrey Toobin, has got a really good sense of humor. It wouldn't be surprising if he yucked it up and took a break, come back early next year, and just make some jokes about it. Yeah. Do we have people that are saying things before we leave that topic?
So when I told my story, Silas goes, he knows that I have a million tabs open, and that's probably why the porn started playing, because I have like...
What's the matter with having a lot of... I have like 900 tabs because we always have to go to stories.
The tabs open. So, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So, thank you, Silas. Steve co-signed with me with all the tabs.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Cody, and Silas, like for this show in particular... A lot of our stories that we pull from, there's one site that I often pull from that reports on gay porn, but I don't often take stories from that, but they do like this sidebar of what's going on sexually in our LGBTQ world. I often get some of our greatest stories from this site, and it's in the background. So if I go to there, I'm seeing dicks and people like having sex. On the other side of the page, it's kind of a part of our show. We are talking about gay sex. It's just kind of like ours is a different, we're not talking about the law and politics and things of that nature. So ours is a little bit different.
Yes, it's a completely different world that we're in. So I agree with you, but I still think that he can come back.
Good.
Jen says, it would be worse if there was a cum shot.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like if...
And...
Yeah.
What?
Well, and Jen, I mean, where were the people that were, hey, Jeffrey, we can see you.
Why
you know that commercial that they...
That is a great point.
You know, they have that silly commercial on TV where it's like about now, and there's a guy like, and he's in like huge boxer shorts, and it's like, boom, boom, chicka boom, but he's like dancing, and the woman goes, and we can see you, but it's all like, and he's like, oh, where was that moment with Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Or I heard some people say maybe everybody was so in shock, like if you saw somebody like. Would you be? I like how I just did that sound effect.
I mean,
would you be
wow.
like? Was that good?
That was incredibly accurate.
I'm pretty good at voiceovers and sound effects, but would you be shocked, Cody? Would you say something? Or
I would for sure say something, especially if you were exposed. I would be like, "Really, sis? Cover that up."
How about you all
cover that nipple up?
Would you guys say something if you saw it? Is anybody answering?
Would you tell us if we were exposed, guys?
Or a colleague or somebody? Nope.
Silas says he would not say.
We know
Jen
who
says yes.
Thanks, Jen. We got one that's looking out for us, and one that wants to just see us like bury ourselves. Well,
Silas also made a good point, though. He says if Brian Williams can come back from lying about a report, then Mr. Toobin can as well.
Brian Williams from
you have to delete this dead air because I forget where he's
from.
NBC.
Okay. Got it. I see.
In post, honey.
Yes.
Make me sound smart in post.
I will. Last two things that I want to just get in real quick. The Pope apparently is endorsing same-sex unions. We just had to shout that out because when was the last time you heard the Pope endorse anything like that? So that's a good sign for those of us that care, but I think it's a good thing.
Delia and her picture, actually my Titi Connie too, and her pictures of the Pope all over the house. She would be happy about this right now.
And He's about to die. I love it, Jen.
Jennifer.
And lastly, we talked about this on Tags Podcast episode 210 the other day. I wanted to get your input, Cody. It was a story about Puerto Vallarta. There's the Mantamar Beach Resort swimming pool club recently has been under fire and had to pay not a huge fine, but a fine of $1,000, really, of two guys that were caught in a swimming pool that was transparent. So in other words, from afar, you could it was set above a hill or something, so you could kind of see what was going on. Two guys were engaged in some sort of sexual intercourse, and as a result, the beach club was under fire and fined. What were your thoughts when you heard of that? Because we kind of got into it with my co-host on Tags Podcast the other day.
So I watched the video, right? And it was like during the daytime.
Yes.
And so what I'm worried about are the kids on the beach, because like I listened to the episode 2, and you say on the episode that like it's not like a private gay beach. Like there are kids out there. I've been to the beach too. So there are families out there. So that's what I'm really concerned about. That's my main concern. If it were just gay guys or just adults, or maybe if it was a nude beach, I wouldn't really have a problem with it. But I have to go with it's a no for me, dog, because they were like, and it was glass. You could see everything was going on. By the unpixelated version of that video.
I know.
Just for science.
Yes, Jen, that was kind of my point too. It's a public pool, essentially. And I think my point that my co-host at the time didn't really seem to get was they thought I was being prudish. Like, oh, come on, you're like acting like you're clutching your pearls, like you've never seen that happen at a gay resort. And I said, yes, it is for a gay beach club. But I use the analogy of several clothing optional that steer that way, that have a more sexual vibe. Like in Palm Springs, there's several of those that are only male clothing optional, and some of them are in almost encourage sexual activity and that kind of thing, but they're really in their own enclosed environment. I've been to some in Fort Lauderdale, which are the same thing, where they have like even a dark room.
Or
Key West. I've been to the Island House, which I love. And again, there I didn't see in Key West, there would be nakedness going on, but then you could go off. There were things happening, but it was almost encouraged in those places. So you kind of knew this is just happens to be a gay beach resort. That's really, the beach is right there and doesn't really have that.
People from all walks of life are there.
And I just think, why? I don't think that was really the place or the time, especially in a transparent pool. They either knew what they were doing and were doing it on purpose, and now the beach club has a fine. And
to your point, like you said, it's a glass pool, and that sounds hot and amazing. Like,
of course,
sometime. But wait till it's dark, or you have a little bit more anonymity. That's final answer.
Yeah, me too. I agree with you. They should. It's a public pool. They should pass it on to them.
The fine, I think, is what she's talking about.
Good point.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jen.
They should pay.
Thanks, everybody, for playing tonight. This has been a lot of fun. You can go to TAGSPodcast.com and also go our after show. We have a brand new weekly after show. If you join at a very minimal cost on our Patreon page, go to patreon.com/talk about gay sex. The after show comes out every week there, but you can also just go to patreon.com/talk about gay sex and take our weekly poll where we talk about this stuff, and we want to hear from you. We want you to weigh in where you think, and we'll report on it next week. Thank you, Cody Marie Stoggett. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, audience. And
guys.
Wear your mask, stay safe, but keep it sexy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Smooches, Silas says.